I'm going to have a chat to Jim Tully now for reaction on John Tamahere and Willie Jackson being taken off air. Jim, thank you for joining us this morning. First of all, that initial interview with Amy, the so-called friend of the victim, what did you make of that?
Well, I just thought it was ill-judged. I think it was offensive, and I'm delighted that some serious action has been taken. It's unacceptable, really.
So in your mind, they deserve to be pulled off air. Is this quite unusual for broadcasters to be taken off like that?
It is, and it's indicative of a very serious judgment at MediaWorks that this kind of broadcasting was not acceptable. I suspect the pressure from the advertisers was a key ingredient in this, because it's a fairly substantial decision. The apology was abject, and the time off air is quite extensive.
If they hadn't pulled their advertising, do you think Radio Live would have made the same decision here?
I would hope they would have. I think, editorially you'd have to say that you can't have discussion of this kind and not do something about it. I suspect the commercial pressures hopefully just intensified a decision that was going to be made anyway.
What do you suspect has happened with this off-air period? We know they'll be off-air to the end of the year. Do you expect them to return come January?
Well, once again, Tony, I reckon it'll be a commercial decision perhaps to take them off, and if their audience has been sufficient over the last year or two, then they'll come back on, I have no doubt. They'll have been rehabilitated. Although these two guys, by nature, they'd be difficult to manage, I think.
I guess, Jim, there has been rumblings that this is a token gesture by Radio Live and that they've been put on gardening leave, possibly on full pay. We don't know that because they haven't said. Could it be this?
I don't think it's a soft action at all. I think, it's 2 months probably is what it's going to amount to, and you can't diminish that as a fairly strong decision in the light of a country where we don't tend to take people off air in that kind of way. So I think, it would be unfair on MediaWorks to say it's just a token gesture.
Some might say in this situation they are talkback hosts, they take people's opinion, they give their own freedom of speech here. They should be allowed to say what they like.
There is no such thing as unfettered freedom of speech. We live in a society where there are restrictions. Some are legal and others are matters of taste and decency and judgment. And so, people who go on about freedom of speech really don't, I think, understand a situation where there is no unlimited freedom of speech.
How damaging is an event like this for a broadcaster? I know we've had precedent here with some of my colleagues even here. In terms of their apology, do you think the way they gave that will help their cause if they do in fact return?
Well, when they finally produced an apology, I think it was reasonably abject. So if you give them the benefit of the doubt as being a genuine apology, then, I think we have to let it lie. Having said that, the public have, I think, taken great offence at the whole Roastbusters issue, not just Willie and JT, but, the wider issues involving the police and others.
The way this came to light with one man, I think, down in Wellington, getting these signatures and writing to all of the advertisers, is that quite unusual? Does this normally happen?
It doesn't normally happen. It has happened before, many decades almost ago, when we had some issues with television violence. And to be honest, if you're a lobbyist wanting to achieve some kind of outcome with the media, then mobilising some very big advertisers would be a very useful strategy. Much better than just writing angry letters, I would say.
It certainly seems to have worked in this case. Jim Tully, media commentator, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tony.